Listening is thought of as a soft skill, perhaps the softest of the soft skills. What's the big deal, we might ask? We listen every day. It's something we learn to do as children, and it comes so naturally. And yet I'm going to suggest that it's not that easy to learn the skill of deep listening. It reminds me of the story of an older couple who were sitting around watching television. The husband decided to go out for a drive. "Do you want me to get anything while I'm at?" he asked. "Yes, get some ice cream, and while you're at it, get some topping, and bananas. I feel like a banana split." "Well, do you want me to write that down for you?" his wife asked. "You know how you forget things." "Oh, no," the husband replied. "You don't need to write it down. It's just 3 things. Ice cream, topping, and bananas. I can remember." Well, he was gone for about a half hour, came home and put a sack on the counter. She opened it, pulled out the contents, a dozen eggs, a loaf of bread. She looked at him in disgust and said, "You dummy, I told you I should have written it down. You forgot the bacon." Well, of course, we can laugh and forgive people as they get older, but the truth is that deep listening, including remembering, is not easy. Think about it. There's a lot going on during communication. The speaker has to put into words not just information, but often complex perceptions, thoughts, feelings, and intent. Then a listener has to decide or has to figure out the message, decode the message through a filter of their own biases, attitudes, beliefs, feelings, motives, and life experiences. And to make all of it more complex, experts tell us that words make up only about 8%, or 11%, I should say, of the message in face-to-face communication. Tone of voice is about 35% of the message. Body language, as well as other contextual clues, make up 55%. Although exact percentages are hard to come by, it is true that there's simply a lot going on which make deep listening challenging. Well, I define deep listening as suspending judgment and being fully present with another person to understand his or her experience or point of view. Deep listening involves hearing more than words of the speaker, but it taps into the deeper meaning, the unspoken needs and feelings that are being conveyed. It's something that's done with the heart as well as the mind. So, by my definition, deep listening begins with accurately perceiving what another is saying. In other words, the message sent equals the message received. And if simply transmitting information, that's oftentimes enough. But there's often so much more going on. In order to listen well, you have to understand that people want to be heard. They want to know that their opinions matter. They want our empathy and respect. Empathy is doing our best to experience the world from their point of view. Respect is offering due regard for their opinions, feelings, needs, and even personhood. It's by deep listening that we grant these gifts of empathy and respect. Listening shows that we not only understand what somebody is saying, but that we value and respect them as human beings. Through deep listening, we not only communicate information, but affirm and support others, as well as build and transform relationships. There are lots of benefits that come from deep listening. Through deep listening, we get into rapport with others, build trust and goodwill, deepen our understanding of other people, learn new ideas and perspectives, make it safe for others to open up so that we're dealing with deep and real issues and not just surface issues. Gain more accurate understanding of information for better decision making and problem solving. Overcome friction and work through conflict. Develop shared understanding and consensus. We affirm, motivate, and empower others. We promote personal and relationship healing. I think it's fair to say that good, deep listening is at the very heart of all healthy relationships. Good listening matters at home and on the job. It matters in your relationship with your friends and spouse or partner. Listening matters in your relationship with your children and grandchildren. It matters to those who work for you, as well as your customers, your peers, and co-workers. I'd say that it matters to most of the people around you. Your ability to improve your deep listening skills can improve or even transform each of these relationships. People will notice that you're more present and attuned. They'll be drawn to your influence and leadership. As you learn and practice this skill, you'll build better relationships and achieve better results on the job and more satisfying and successful personal relationships, period. And yet, for the most part, we are not good listeners. We listen to respond rather than understand. Our minds think at about 400 words a minute, and yet we speak at only around 125 words a minute, which means that we so easily get distracted and fail to give others our full attention. We're quick to judge what they're saying and agree or disagree, think we already know, or even step in to give advice, fix problems, dismiss, or one-up other people rather than hearing what they're really saying. I want to share with you a story on deep listening about an elderly widower living in assisted living. He had recently broken his leg from a fall and was told that he would need surgery and then go to a nursing home for rehab. Well, hearing this was very, very traumatic to this man. His immediate reaction was, "I don't want surgery. Can't it heal on its own? If they take me to a nursing home, I'll never make it back to assisted living." His caregivers assured him that he'd be okay. "Oh, don't worry about this. Don't worry about that. You're really going to be fine." Well, these were loving responses. At least the intent was loving. But they failed to respond to his deeper feelings and fears. I would suggest that this gentleman needs somebody to just listen. Somebody to say, "It had to be so hard for you to learn that you'd broken your leg." Or, "Having a surgery is very frightening." Or, "It would be so hard if you couldn't come back here." Listen and let him talk. Once he's talked and been heard, he'll be more open to influence and input. "This is why surgery is so important," or "You may have to go to a nursing home, but the goal is to bring you back to assisted living." "This is a tough thing you're going through. How would you like to face it?" Well, I want to share a quote about the power of deep listening from Rachel Naomi Raymond, a medical doctor. She said, "One of my patients told me that when she tried to tell her story, people often interrupted just to tell her that they once had something just like that happen to them. Subtly, her pain became a story about themselves. Eventually, she stopped talking to most people. It was just too lonely." She goes on to say, "I have even learned to respond to someone crying by just listening. In the old days, I used to reach for the tissues until I realized that passing a person a tissue may be just another way to shut them down, to take them out of their experience of sadness and grief. Now I just listen. When they've cried all they need to cry, they can find me there with them. This simple thing has not been easy to learn. I thought people listened only because they were too timid to speak or didn't know the answer. A loving silence often has far more power to heal and to connect than the most well-intentioned words." End of quote. Well, I recently launched a new course entitled The Power of Deep Listening. The purpose of the course is to teach you the power and art of listening. I do this through lots of stories and examples and case studies which show you what we do that works and what we do that does not work as we listen. In fact, the course is a bestseller on Udemy and has achieved a average rating of 4.7 on a scale of 5. You'll come away knowing how to listen deeply and thereby support others and build healthier relationships. We often think that the most important influencing skill is being able to explain ourselves more forcefully. However, I can tell you that the relationships I value most are those in which someone has listened and really heard me. These relationships have not only helped me feel validated and affirmed, but given me the desire and courage to improve myself or go forward to accomplish important things. Perhaps it's through our presence and willingness to listen deeply rather than offering our wonderful advice that we offer others one of the most precious gifts of all.